There is a structure on this planet, visible from space, that was not built by humans. Not a city, not a wall, a living thing, built by animals smaller than your fingernail. It covers less than 1% of the ocean floor, and it keeps 25% of all ocean life alive, every single day. 500 million people depend on it for food, for income, for protection against storms that would otherwise erase entire coastlines. It is producing medicines in hospitals right now that nothing else on Earth can replicate. And it is dying faster than almost anything else on this planet. Stay with me, because by the end of this you will never look at the ocean the same way again. Most people think coral is a plant or a rock. It is neither. Coral is an animal. Thousands of tiny creatures called polyps living together and building a shared structure around themselves. Each polyp is smaller than your fingernail, soft, fragile, alone, but together they secrete calcium carbonate limestone and build a skeleton that outlasts them by centuries, generation after generation, layer on layer, for thousands of years, until what they have built is the largest living structure ever constructed on this planet. The Great Barrier Reef stretches over 2,300 kilometers, visible from orbit, built by animals most people have never thought about for a single second of their lives. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, and they support 25% of all marine species on Earth. Every 4 ocean species you can name one cannot survive without a reef. 4,000 species of fish alone live on coral reefs, along with tens of thousands of other creatures: sharks, sea turtles, octopuses, manta rays, all concentrated in a fraction of the ocean. And the reef does not just house them. It actively produces the conditions that make the surrounding ocean productive. Remove it, and the collapse does not stay in one place. It spreads outward. Here is where it stops being an ocean problem and becomes a human one. Coral reefs absorb 97% of the energy from incoming waves, storms, and floods before they reach shore. Scientists have calculated that coral reefs prevent over $4 billion in flood damage every year in the United States alone. Globally, the number is hundreds of billions annually. Over 500 million people depend on coral reef fisheries as their primary food source and income. Coastal communities, island villages, places where the reef is the only option. When the reef dies, the fish disappear. The fishery collapses. The food source and the income vanish simultaneously. There is no replacement. The reef was it. Now here is the one that surprises everyone. Coral reefs may be the single most important source of undiscovered medicine on Earth right now. A painkiller called ziconotide, used in hospitals today for severe chronic pain, was derived from a cone snail living on a coral reef. Nothing else works the way it does. Coral reef organisms are currently being studied as treatments for cancer, for HIV, for bacterial infections resistant to every antibiotic in existence. A pharmacy we are destroying before we have read what is inside it. Every species that goes extinct before we study it is a treatment we will never develop, a patient we will never be able to help, gone before we knew what we had. And species are going extinct in coral reefs right now, before we find them, before we name them, while we are having this conversation. Between 2009 and 2018, the world lost 14% of all coral reefs on Earth. Not damaged, not bleached, gone. An area larger than the entire country of Switzerland, in 9 years. Then, in April 2024, NOAA confirmed a 4th global coral bleaching event, the most widespread in recorded human history. Every ocean basin simultaneously. Nothing was spared. Bleaching happens when ocean temperatures rise above what coral can tolerate. The coral expels the algae living in its tissue. That algae is its food source. Without it, the coral starves. Bleached coral is not immediately dead. It is starving. If temperatures drop fast enough, it can recover. If they do not, it dies. White skeleton, silent, empty, where a living reef used to be. The Great Barrier Reef experienced its most severe bleaching on record in 2024. Sections that survived previous events did not survive this one. Scientists watching it used words like unprecedented and alarming. Bleaching is not the only pressure. Ocean acidification is dissolving the calcium carbonate coral skeletons are made from. Coral that used to regrow after damage is now growing back slower than it is being destroyed. Then there is direct destruction, bottom trawling, coastal development, agricultural runoff. In some regions, over 80% of coral reefs have been degraded or destroyed by direct human activity alone, before climate change is even added. The combined weight of warming oceans, acidification, physical destruction, pollution, and overfishing is hitting this ecosystem all at once, from every direction simultaneously. But here is what needs to be said directly. Coral reefs are not inevitably lost. They are among the most resilient ecosystems on this planet. They know how to rebuild. They just cannot do it at the pace they are currently being destroyed. Marine protected areas where fishing and development are restricted show dramatically higher coral coverage and fish populations than unprotected areas. The evidence is clear. When pressure reduces, the reef responds. Coral restoration programs are operating at scale in multiple countries. Scientists growing coral fragments in underwater nurseries and transplanting them onto degraded reef sections, working by hand, underwater, piece by piece. In Florida, over 170,000 coral fragments have been transplanted onto the Florida Reef Tract. In Australia, researchers are breeding heat-resistant coral strains, built for ocean temperatures that are already killing existing populations. None of these programs replace addressing the underlying cause. They are buying time, keeping pieces alive. The window is still open. What happens inside it is still being decided. The economics alone should reach anyone not moved by ecology. $2.7 trillion per year. That is the estimated global value of what coral reefs provide. From less than 1% of the ocean floor, tourism, fisheries, coastal protection, medical compounds. Every dollar spent protecting reefs returns multiple dollars in avoided damage and sustained industry. The case for protection is economic as much as ecological. The coral polyp has been building reefs for over 500 million years. It survived the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It survived every ice age and mass extinction this planet has produced. What it has never faced is the pace of change happening right now. Ocean temperatures rising faster than any natural warming event in the geological record. Acidity increasing faster than at any point in millions of years. The coral is not fragile because it is weak. It is struggling because the rate of change is faster than any biology on Earth can adapt to. It is being asked to evolve at a speed evolution cannot match. Less than 1% of the ocean floor, 25% of all marine species, 500 million people, $2.7 trillion. Medicine found nowhere else. All of it built by animals, smaller than your fingernail. They do not need our help to be extraordinary. They have been extraordinary since before we existed. They need our help to survive what we have done to the water around them. What is lost cannot be rebuilt on any time scale that matters to us. A reef that took thousands of years to form cannot be restored in a decade. What dies is gone in any practical sense, but what survives can recover. What is protected can grow. The polyp knows how to build. It has been doing it for 500 million years. What it needs is for us to stop making the water uninhabitable. The reef survived 5 mass extinctions, not because conditions were easy, but because the pressure eventually reduced enough for the biology to do what it has always done. Rebuild. That is all it is asking for now. Enough reduction in pressure for the biology to work. Not perfection. Just less heat, less acid, less destruction. Enough breathing room. The largest living structure ever built on this planet, holding together a quarter of all ocean life, protecting 500 million people, feeding the ocean that feeds the world. Invisible to most of the people it protects, unknown to most of the people it feeds, dying in front of scientists who cannot look away, and recoverable if the window that still exists is used. That is the honest story, not a eulogy, not yet. A warning and a window at the same time. What happens inside that window is still being decided. If this changed how you see what is underneath that ocean surface, share it with someone who thinks the reef is just a pretty place to snorkel. Subscribe, because the ocean is full of systems like this, invisible, essential, disappearing, and worth understanding before they are gone.